Hello everyone, welcome you all in this course Systematics of Angiosperm. I am Dr. Gausia Bashri from the Department of Botany, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, serving as an assistant professor, and for this course I have a teaching assistant, that is Mr. Subhan Ali, who is a PhD scholar from my lab. Today we will going to learn about the taxonomic tools which help in the identification and classification of particular plants. So let's start with the taxonomic tools, and the first, what are the content today we will going to learn about. So first we will learn what are the objectives of this particular. First we will going to learn about the objective of this particular topic. Then we introduce the topic that what are the different types of taxonomic tools. Then one by one we will study the different tools like herbarium, botanical garden, museums, taxonomic documentation, taxonomic keys, evidences and techniques. Further we will see the use of computers and GIS in this particular as a taxonomic tools. So first of all, what are the objective of this particular topic? We are here to identify or study the particular plant or particularly identify them properly in this particular course. So first of all, if we would like to understand the various if we would like to identify a plant species that we have collected from any source, any unknown places, then first of all we need to use these taxonomic tools to identify and nomenclature. So the understand the various types of taxonomic tools used in identification and nomenclature is very important because it gives a correct identification of that particular plant which we have collected from different locations. So the understand the concept of herbarium and herbarium preparation is also very important because it is a very important tool for the identification. All the plant that is present in that particular area is preserved in the form of a herbarium either in the local level or national level or regional levels. So these herbarium helps in the identification of plants. Then particularly a flora, either it is on India or at the world level, it is a very important to document them in the form of a flora. Then how this computer different technologies help in the identification of particular plants. So now moving towards our first topic, that is the introduction of this particular topic. As we all know and learn about in the previous week, that taxonomy is a branch of science that encompasses the identification, nomenclature and classification of particular organism. So the first step in this taxonomy is the identification, which is very important, and this followed by the naming, that is the nomenclature, and then there is a classification. So this identification needs further a characterization because we have to confirm this what we have identified is correct or not. So in the modern system there are many types of evidences in contrast to a classical system which is generally based on the morphological systems. So in previously we just see the morphology and identify a particular plant, that this particular plant is this one. But in today we have so many taxonomic tools that confirm how to characterize the particular plant, species or animals. So it is a very important to know all these taxonomic tools to properly or correctly identify particular plant species. So these taxonomic tools or aids are techniques or procedures that is stored information that are useful in identification and classification of particular organisms, and they are required because taxonomic study of plants and other organisms is basic to almost in all branches of biological studies and for their proper identification and finding their relationship with each other. So if we see some taxonomic tools like herbaria, botanical garden, museum and keys, there are some most important tools used in identifying a plant. Besides this, there are so many tools like serological techniques, then histological techniques, cytotaxonomy, chemotaxonomy. There are the further other tools which are now using in the taxonomy, and beside this now we are using the computer based technologies. So all these things or tools are very important for the proper identification of particular plants. So nowadays as we are seeing that the science and technology achieve advancement in every field of taxonomic and also mainly not depend upon the traditional tools. But as advanced and sophisticated tools like phytochemistry, serology, histology and cytology, then there is a numerical taxonomy or computerized data analysis and many other techniques boost this particular work. And then lastly in this there is a use of a GIS, that is a geographical information system, then DNA barcoding and molecular technique, nuclear sequencing. These tools are very important for the confirmation of what we have identified by the morphology. So these techniques are affirmative and confirms our findings. So these are the some advancements due to the technological advancements that are very important to study in this particular section. So if we see these particular aids, like previously we have these are taxonomical aid in which one of the most important is the herbarium, which a herbarium is a dried remains of particular plant that preserved in different conditions of that represent a particular flora of that particular regions. And then next in this particular is botanical garden, which have a number of plant species. Like in India, there is the largest botanical garden present in the Havra. Then there are some documentation like in form of the flora, monographs, manuals. Then we in the department or every institution there is a presence of a museum that also work as a taxonomic tools. Then in animal sciences, like in botany there is a botanical garden, while in the animal sciences there is a zoological park which is also serve as a taxonomic tool. Then in last there we have a taxonomic keys, which is also very important to reach out a particular organism or unknown organism, because we cannot read all the documents at a time. So these key are very important to identify a particular organism and choosing a better and deciding where we have to go. So these are some taxonomical tools or aids that we are using since very early. So first of all, the first taxonomic tool or aid, that is the herbarium. The herbarium is a storehouse or collection of dried and pressed plant specimens and collected from different places and arranged according to some known system of classification to facilitate the identification, nomenclature and preservation of the records. As you can see in this particular image, this is a herbarium of a particular plant. As you can see, this is a well preserved, and here you can see these are the fruits and these are the leaves. You can see every part of this particular plant. So if you see the herbarium, a word which derived from the herber, which means the plant specimens, and the artium, which means an artificial place. So it clearly defines that the herbarium is a dried remains of a particular plant specimens which are pasted on this particular herbarium sheets, and artificially it is preserved in storehouses. So the word herbarium initially referred to as a book of medicinal plants, because initially the medicinal plants are dried and then they are preserved in the form of a book in a sheet structure. Then it was Tonford who first used the term for the collection of dried plants. So now it is used as a collective term for the dried plant specimens, collection of the dried plant specimens, that is the herbarium. So this one is showing a typical herbarium of a angiospermic plant, as you can see in this particular image. Then the next important tool is the botanical gardens. Botanical gardens are place where plants from various groups are grown for their scientific study, conservation, public education, aesthetics and recreation. So they usually house a library or laboratory, herbarium and museum, and they also offer teaching and training facilities. As you can see in this image, this is the botanical garden of Department of Botany, Aligarh University. Here a number of species is present. They are around more than 200 species of the plant that occur in this particular garden, that maintained by initially Dr. Wajahat Hussain, a famous taxonomist. So these help in the proper placement. Like suppose in the botanical garden we are going at different place, so we can collect them and can grow in a botanical garden. So it's not necessarily the plants that growing in the botanical garden are native plants. They may be different plants from the different regions. So we grow them and providing a conditions that is suitable for their growth. So if we see the like government or private organization maintain a botanical garden, and these organization also employ botanists and gardener to look after the plants. And the some famous gardens are at the, if you see the Kew garden, like that is the in England, which is the one of the largest botanical garden. And India, if you see, this is the Indian botanical garden that present in Havra in Kolkata, which is one of the largest botanical garden in India. And the most of the plant also in UP, there is a National Botanical Research Institute, and NBRI, there is a very large botanical garden which have a number of plant species. These are some notable plant garden in India as well as in the world. So these garden have a number of a plant species, native as well as collected from a different places. So at one place we can get the information of a many plant. Like if we see the Kew garden, that is it present in England, the most natural system of classification that given by the Bentham and Hooker, because these two botanists, Bentham and Hooker, both are working in the Kew garden, and they present this natural system of classification that is based on this their own study. So because of that, there the system of classification is very unique and very recent till date. And the next aid in taxonomy is the museum. Museum is a building used for the preservation and exhibition of inanimate objects to illustrate the human or natural history or any other plant or animals. So biological museums are generally set up in the educational institute. As you can see in this image, this is the Botany Museum at Aligarh Muslim University. Here a number of plants are preserved. So museum have a collection of preserved plants and animal specimens for study and reference. Here you can see the number of plants like fruits. Then there is also there is a presence of a models of different types of plants also present in this particular museum. So the University of Aligarh has a museum of botany that showcases a wide range of plant specimens, fossil and other botanical exhibits. So as you can see in this particular image. Then the next taxonomic aid is the taxonomic documentations. Taxonomic documentation is also a very important tool or aid because accurate identification of given plant is essential in the field of biogeography, biochemistry, ecology, genetics, physiology, agriculture, pharmacology, apart from the classical discipline of plant sciences like in the taxonomy. Because suppose we are going to research on particular plant, or suppose a particular plant is medicinally important. So first of all we have to identify them, and for the identification their documentation is very important. So there are numerous kind of resources from where the correct, authentic and complete identification can be retrieved, and these are called as the taxonomic documents. And these taxonomic documents include like indexes and indices, floras. As you can see in this image, this is the flora of Upper Gangetic Plain that is written by the J.F. Duthie, who is a famous botanist that work during the British period, and he is posted in Saharanpur, and he written many number of floras, and one of them is the flora of Upper Gangetic Plain. Beside this, there is a monograph that is typically based on a particular group of plant species, then manuals, then revisions or periodicals. These are the taxonomic documents that help in the identification of particular plant species. So, in order to help a researcher to correctly or conveniently and quickly ascertain the name of an unknown plants. So, many of these resources are provided with keys. That's why keys are very important, because suppose if this particular flora has a 500 pages, so we cannot study all the 500 pages in a time. So, these keys provide a shortcut, so we can reach by studying this through these keys to the plant of desired plant that we want to go on. So these keys are very important in the flora and monograph as well as in the manual, because we can reach out the plant we have collected or we have identified easily because of this particular keys. So the keys are very important in case of a floras and monographs that we will next see the how keys are playing a crucial role in the identification of particular plants. Then if we see a flora is the sum of a totality of a plant species irrespective of number of a particular found in particular geographical area. So it just represents how many plant species is present in particular geographical areas. Suppose if I am saying the flora of Aligarh, that flora of Aligarh includes all the plant species that present in this particular Aligarh region, or we can say the flora may be a very wide range, as we have previously seen the trees that retain the flora of the upper Gangetic plain. So there is a maybe a very short, suppose if I am writing the flora of only Aligarh Muslim University, so it is a very confined area. So we have to mention all the plants that are present in this particular premises of Aligarh Muslim University. So flora is a particular depicted a geographical area from where all the plant species are documented. So in the flora, description of plants are arranged according to any accepted system of classification, which is a very important to know that in every country there is a particular system of classification which has to be followed. As we know in India, mostly all the herbarium institute or universities, they all maintaining their herbarium or floras in the form of a benthamonical system of classification, because it is one of the most natural system of classification and they are predicted very accurately the position of the particular plants according to morphology. So we can choose any other system of classification, but in India the most popular is the benthamonical system of classification. So in this particular flora, there is a systematic arrangement of a plant in a book form and they are supplemented with the keys I have also told you. So thus in nutshell we can say that the flora is a systematic account of a plant species of a defined geographical area at a time of period and provides keys and descriptions of the plant for identification. So suppose if you see the flora of Aligarh, so in this flora of Aligarh all the plant at particular time it is documented in the form of a flora of Aligarh, and suppose at present we would collected some plant from that particular space. So if we would like to, we don't have a knowledge which type of plant is this, then we can identify that particular plant from the flora of Aligarh. So the word flora that comes from the Latin that means the flower and the Roman goddess of spring and flowering plants. So fertility in Roman mythology, especially wildflowers and plants not raised for food. So in the common phrase that is used for the flora and fauna that covers about every visible living things, that is the biota of that particular area. So if we calling flora, that means all the plant species that present in that particular geographical area. So it is a very important document. Suppose in any particular regions we can identify a particular plant from this particular flora. Then as I have told you, these flora is documented or supplemented with the keys. This taxonomic keys tools allows animals and plants to identify based on their contrasting character known as keys, and the acceptance and rejection of the two keys with different characteristics are usually achieved by keeping them in pairs. As you can see, this one is the plant dichotomous key, this one is the plant, this one is there is a no vascularization, so this one is the bryophyte. Then there is a vascular plants in which there is a no seed, that is the pteridophytes. Then with seeds have further two categories, then which has flower and another which don't have a flower. So which those have a flower, that is the angiosperm, and they do not have a flower, that is the gymnosperm. So this is the plant dichotomous key from where we can easily identify the plants of different groups just by dividing into two sections. So you can see this is just one example of the key which is classifying the plant on the basis of further first at the vascular level, then the presence of seed, then the presence of flower. So we can identify the plant sequentially and reach out which plant we have. This is just example of a taxonomic key, and each flora and generally monograph is supplemented by these keys which help to reach out the particular plant we have a interest. Then the next taxonomic tool, that is the taxonomic evidence. Taxonomic evidence is a collection of characteristics that are used to describe patterns of variation and interrelationship between the taxa. So it is also very important as these evidences is supporting our morphological studies. So we will discuss this taxonomic evidence in relation to taxonomy, like the first one, that is the morphology, that deals with the external characters of the plants. Then anatomy, that is study the structures of organism and their parts. Then the next evidence is palynology, like the study of plant, pollen and spores, which also support the taxonomy. Then embryology is the study of embryo, which also support the as a work as a taxonomic evidence, because many families have different characteristics types of embryology. Then cytology, like the study of structure and functions of cells, in which chromosome is a very important, because many families have a very specific chromosome structures, and we can predict that that particular plant is belong to that particular family. Then phytochemistry is very important. This is a study of phytochemicals and their plant derived products, and this is a very important because many plant groups have a sub-specific group of compounds, so we can identify that particular plant is belong to that particular family. Then ultrastructure, that is the architecture of cell and biomaterial that is visible at higher magnifications. And then lastly is the genome analysis and nucleic acid hybridization. These also help in the identification, measurement and arrangement of genomic features, and they quite help in the phylogeny. These are some evidences that we will study in detail in our later lectures. So these evidences are very important. Morphology we will study in every family, but these are the other evidences when the families, if the position of particular species of plant is not clear with the morphology, then these particular evidences are help to identify the correct position of particular plants. So all these evidences are very important in the placing particular plant in the on particular position, that we will see when we study the taxonomic evidences. Then the taxonomic techniques, there is a techniques like serological techniques. It is the branch of the biology which is concerned with the nature and interaction of antigenic materials and antibodies. Like first of all, Smith is defined as the study of origins of properties of antiserum. When the foreign cell or particles like antigen are introduced into an organism, then the antibodies are produced in the bloodstream, that is called as the antiserum. So the substance that capable of stimulating the formation of antibodies is called as antigen, and the highly specific protein molecule produced by the plasma cell in the immune system in response to antigen is called as antibody. And this technique is very now used for the identification of particular plant species, because not every plant substance produce the antigen, particularly antibody in the particular organism. So it is used for the creation of the particular plant species. Then the next technique is the biochemical techniques. Biochemical or biochemistry is also further approach of taxonomy, because the characterization of particular plant species, like I have told you, many plant species have a very specific type of molecules or compound. So we can identify a particular plant group by the presence of that particular specific compound, like betalains or terpenes or flavonoids. So when the presence of this compound present in particular group of plants, so we can identify or say that this particular plant group belong to this particular group. So this biochemical technique is also very important in identifying a particular plant species. Then the next is the molecular technique, which is most important in today's time, as because of the rapid advancement in the molecular biology of plant that influence the taxonomics in this respect. So the considerable change in the plant classification happened since the highly informative results obtained by the molecular taxonomists through DNA sequence analysis of chloroplasts, that is the RBCL gene, and nuclear RNA genes. The data obtained from these together with morphological and other data from the other tools of taxonomy have made a great changes in the field of taxonomy, and in this particularly the tools that is most common is the DNA fingerprinting. It is a useful molecular technique that used for the identification of taxon at genetic level and determination its genotype. So this molecular technique is very important, because suppose we have a two plant species or 3 plant species, and we are not able to, from the morphology, we are not able to tell which one is a more close to the and which have a shared the common ancestry. So from the DNA fingerprinting, we can tell that which particular plant group is most closely related to the which one. So it is a very important technique, and it is very useful in the phylogeny and making the ancestral or cladogram of that particular group. So it is a very important in creating a phylogenetic of particular angiospermic groups. Then lastly, the computer and GIS. A geographical information system, or sometimes referred to as the geospatial information system, is a system of capturing, storing and analyzing and managing data associated with the attribute of especially reference to the earth. So it is a very new technique and important technique because we can capture the this is a, as the name indicates, the geographical information system. So with this we can catch the habitat, or particularly we identify the plant from their habitat. So it gives the realistic picture of that particular plants, and the latest technique used for the tool in the biosystematic, that is the remote sensing and the use of computer, because from this, now from the computer we can create a multi-access level keys. It is a very easy to identify particular plant species. And beside this, from the computer and GIS, now we can use the QR code. Just for the scanning, we can reach out the particular plant species groups, or we can just search, as all of you may have searched the Google Lens. So from just one search, you can reach out a particular plant that just similar to that particular images. So nowadays the computer is very important because we can identify a particular plant of group just by imaging, or and in this GIS and remote sensing very important tools for studying the plant taxonomy. So that's all, and these are the some, as we have studied, these are the taxonomic tools, in which all the taxonomic tools which are very important for the taxonomic identification, classification and nomenclature, we will study one by one all of them in detail, because all of these are very important for the proper identification of particular plant species. So that's all for today. Thank you all of you for joining this session.